I do like sex, you know. I see nothing wrong with that. I like to have sex with my husband. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He be having to complain all the time.
Gucci, Gucci 2 times, say it 2 times. Gucci, Gucci 2 times, say it 2 times. Gucci, Gucci 2 times.
Mr. Nelson, you have brought Mrs. Fuller here in an effort to get $600 a month transitional support for the next 3 years for a total of $21,600. Before we discuss that request for transitional support, however, Mr. Nelson, tell me a little bit about your marriage and why we're here in divorce court today.
All right, well, it's pretty much like this. You know, I guess I could say I'm like the regular kind of guy, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I stay at home, you know, I cook, I clean, you know what I mean? Like, pick up after myself, of course.
Well, let me just stop you right here because the adjective you used was wrong. That ain't regular, okay what I'm saying? That's not regular. It's wonderful that you cook and clean and do all that, but that's not regular, but I'll just go from there. Mr. Nelson, continue.
My wife, she isn't appreciative of anything that I do, actually. You know what, I'm going to do something special for her. You know, so I dim the lights, you know what I mean? So I get the candles ready, I set the table, you know, I got everything, put the mood music on, you know what I mean? So when she comes in the door, it's like, what is all this? Why we got this? Why you using my grandmama dishes? Why ain't you got no job? Like, and it's just like, wow, like I'm trying to
do something nice
exactly.
Here, and you're, Mrs. Fuller, you seem, from what he's telling me, you've got a cooking, cleaning, romancing, and not bad-looking fella on your hands. What seems to be the problem?
Well, first off, when we first met, you know, he led me to believe, you know, I understood he didn't have a job. It's a bad economy. A lot of people don't have a job right now. But he bamboozled me. He threw it in and made it seem like he couldn't get a job. He wasn't working right now. He had all these plans to get a job eventually. He was working on it and everything. But no, it's been 3 years and he has never gotten a job. And then he gonna sit at home all day, every day, and say how he works on the house and cooks dinner. Let me tell you this, we have a studio apartment.
So how much work could it be?
How long can it possibly take you to clean up your home every day, all day? And I'm not talking about full course meals when I get home. You know, I have hamburger helper. I don't got a side of vegetables. I don't got dessert. He don't make me a drink.
Is the studio apartment, is it at least clean though?
It's clean, but I could clean the studio apartment myself when I got home from work. That's not a big deal, you know? It's not a full-time job. I don't need a maid.
And there are no children.
There's no children.
So cleaning a studio apartment and getting dinner, you say, is not quite enough of a contribution to the marital pot. Mr. Nelson, did you tell her that you said, look, I want to be a house husband? Because that's the kind of information a woman ought to know.
I didn't tell her that, but I mean, like, you should, like, I feel like somebody should catch signs, you know what I mean? Like when we met, I was at the bus stop and she was driving. I'm just saying, I was at the bus stop, she was driving, she was like on the phone or something with probably one of her friends or something like that. Kind of flag her down like, hey, baby, how you doing? You know, and we kind of took it from there.
Did he flag you down at a bus stop?
He did flag me down at a bus stop. I'll give him that. But, you know, we was in college, so, I mean, not everybody has a car. That's a big difference. I figure once you move on with your life, you know, you aren't always going to be sitting at a bus stop. I mean, it's gotten to the point, it's not even that he's just not a 9-to-5 type of guy. And it's not even like he wants to sit, like he's gone to the point where, you know, I guess from getting tired of me fussing at him all the time about needing to get a job, he'll go and get jobs, you know, he'll go and apply to jobs. And by this, I mean, he'll pass applications around, because I saw him on the way out one day and was looking over the applications. He didn't even fill it out all the way. He left his last name off one. He didn't fill in his high school education.
Okay, so what I got here, and let me see if I can just sum this up. You were trifling and she should have known it. And if she married you when you were trifling, she's got to live with a trifling guy because all the signs were there.
For lack of a better word, yeah.
Mrs. Fuller, did you fail to see the myriad of red flags that were flying in your face?
If by myriad of red flags you mean I met him at a bus stop, because back then we lived in 2 separate apartments, and he did cook dinner, and he did say he was going to get a job, and he was going to school, you know.
Who paid
there were
his
no
rent
red
before
flags
you?
At this point.
Who paid his rent before you? You said he had an apartment. How do you manage that?
I'm guessing from school loans. I don't know. He was in a dorm.
You listen here. You can't marry a man you guessing about how he's paying his
I wasn't
bills.
aware I needed to do a background check on the dude.
It doesn't take background. How you pay your rent, baby? What is not a background check? It is a common question. Mr. Nelson, how were you paying your rent?
In your junk mail, when you check your email and like Google, it's like an ad from like Google, and they're like, work from home.
Right.
It was like
that's you.
That's me right there.
That's you.
Like all that.
And that's
you
me.
working from home.
That's me that paid for the subscription.
Because you're not getting up and getting dressed and going somewhere with a boss and all that. You don't roll like that.
I'm my own boss.
In this courtroom, but it's a rare event where I see the woman talking about the man not giving her enough sex.
I mean, I guess it's a rare occasion, but
it's happened today.
I feel like it's not very rare. I have a normal sex drive, I
Right.
do like sex, I see nothing wrong with that. I like to have sex with my husband. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He'd be having to complain all the time, talking about making excuses. I get home from work, working 10-hour days, get home. He's been home playing video games on Facebook. I feel like when I get home, the least he could do is take care of my sexual needs. He is my husband. It's not like he's doing anything else all day. I finally do get home. He can talk about all type of excuses. I got a headache. I'm tired. My stomach hurts. What are you tired from? You have not done anything all day.
Mr. Nelson, are you coming up light on the loving?
That's definitely an exaggeration. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like,
What's the truth?
There's one thing, like, how I said I was a regular guy?
Yeah.
Like, and
we already established that that's incorrect.
She says
Go
that
ahead.
she has a regular sex drive. Her sex drive is like, she has like Energizer Bunny syndrome. You know what I mean? Like, keep going and going and going and going. Like when she comes home from work,
yes.
like that does not mean like she came home like, after a hard day's work. That means like I took a 15-minute break and I'm coming home so we can have sex. Then on my lunch break, I want you to cook for me and then we can have sex and I'll go back to work. And then I'm gonna take my last 15-minute break and then we're gonna have some more sex because I just love it that much.
My husband would shoot people to be in your position.
That's what I'm saying. He acts like I'm the one that's wrong.
And half the men I know out there would not only not be complaining, but they'd be going to their boy. Do you know what I got going on at my house?
Of course, like that's how it started. That's how it started. You know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, like all for it, because it was
right?
cool, like but like it was like it was on occasion, it was great sex on occasion. On occasion. Then occasion.
But you don't want occasions to be every day.
Right. I don't want it to be 17,000 times per second. Like I want it to be, like I want it to give me a rest. Like I'm human. Like I'm not Superman. Like so I'm asleep. Of course I'm asleep. After a night of sex that we probably just had. So she wakes me up. With the hands in the pants. And that's cool. Like fellas, that's cool, right? Everybody feel like that's cool. But 30, 45 minutes, that's cool. Ladies, is that 30, 45 minutes?
We're not taking a survey, Mr. Nelson. Just talk to me.
I'm just saying.
30, 45 minutes might be pushing it.
All right, so after I'm done, get it finished, she's like, oh, babe, let's go take a shower. So I'm like, okay, I do need to, brush my shoulders off a little bit. We go get in the shower and she wants to do it again. So I'm like, you know what? The second time is the charm. Maybe I could put it on her good enough the second time and she won't want it again. No. So we get out the shower. She's like, babe, let's lay the towels down and do it on the towel so we can dry off. I'm like, that's a little much. After that, she wants me to go into the kitchen, cook for her breakfast. I'm talking about pancakes, eggs, bacon, and have sex while I'm doing that.
You say in your papers that your wife fails to understand and respect your vision. Could you explain to me what your vision of your life and your marriage truly is?
Well, I mean, given the circumstances, you know what I mean? Like, we have a very nice life, you know, like she goes to work, you know, does her thing. She brings in all the money for the bills and different things like that. You know, I go grocery shopping, I clean up, I cook. Pretty much I'm like the stay-at-home dad.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which shouldn't
We
be
don't have any kids.
But I'm practicing. I'm practicing, right? It's good practice. And like, if we've been getting along fine for 3 years, you know what I mean? And like, if I was bringing home the bread and she was at home cooking and doing everything that I'm doing right now, I'm
then
guessing
I
that
would say I had a really good life too.
I
I'm
just
the
don't
one
see it
working.
as a problem. Like, you know, like if you look at,
Well, you know, it is a problem because you're here. You with me on that?
I mean, I do have a job. You know, my job is taking care of her. You know, she comes home.
But she says you're not doing it well enough.
But I mean, like, because she has very high expectations. She's always throwing it in there like, oh, my ex could do this, my ex could do that. You know what I mean? How do you think that hurts my feelings? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I can only take so much of that. Every time it's always the argument that, oh, somebody else could have done something better. You know what I mean?
And you don't want to hear all that.
I really
Are
don't.
you comparing him to your ex?
I'm only comparing him to not even just exes, people in general. I'm comparing him to people who
Look,
aren't.
that guy's got a job. Why don't you?
Exactly. I'm comparing him to people who aren't lazy. Laziness is something that I just can't stand.
I'm lazy.
I understand when people are in hardships. I understand people on rough times. I don't understand laziness.
Okay, Mrs. Fuller, what made you decide ultimately that you didn't want to be in this marriage anymore? What was the final straw?
The final straw was recently, by some miracle, somehow, he finally got a job interview. And, you know, I made sure he was dressed up, like coaching him, like, they're going to ask you this, you're going to ask you this. I was so excited he finally got a job interview. I don't know how, since he don't fill out applications. But he went. You know, I was excited to hear about it. He got back and he basically threw it. He told them that he's not the 9-to-5 type guy and basically just blew the interview.
They said, hey, can you work on holidays and on weekends? I'm like, no.
When divorce court continues, Judge Lynn rules. But first, Judge Lynn gives a rule on life to Wendell.
You ought to tell the next woman that you're with that you're not going to work and the sex is only going to be sometimes, and you can't clean anything larger than a studio. If you do all of that and she still wants you, go for it. Mrs. Fuller, here's the problem I have with you. You know, people aren't what they tell you. They are what they do. He was doing what he does, which was nothing when you met him. It's nothing now, and it will continue to be nothing because, as he says, this is his vision of life. So you can't pretend it's something other than what it is. And for the life of me, I never understand why people do not sit down and have a conversation about what it is I expect, because you're making a commitment for here on. And you're not going to talk about what it is and what it isn't. Mr. Nelson, you're lazy. Laziness is not a vision, it's not a calling, it's not a way of life. Laziness is a character flaw. But what you ought to do is, you ought to tell the next woman that you're with that you're not going to work, and the sex is only going to be sometimes, and you can't clean anything larger than a studio. If you do all of that, and she still wants you, go for it. But I'm a big one for supplying information. Here we go. This is what, listen. Years ago, when they started this alimony thing, it was all based upon the principle that women stay at home and cook and clean and take care of the children, and the men work and bring home the money. Now we have circumstances where it is flipped. What I often see, though, in this court is women who are working and cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids, guys at home with the PlayStation and the Facebook. And I don't believe transitional support is appropriate under those circumstances. If you're not bringing anything to the table at all, you just kicking back. But that's not what he did. He did do something. Wasn't much, but he did do something. Now, whatever it was that you were doing before you found her to pay your rent, you're going to need to start doing that again. But I'm going to give you a minute. And I just mean a minute. To get it together. I'm going to award you $500 a month for the next 3 months. Not the $21,000 you were looking for, $1,500. Give them the $500 a month. All lessons cost money. You have to pay for stupid decisions. This is a stupid decision. $500 a month for the next 3 months, $1,500 in favor of Mr. Nelson. It is so ordered.
All rise. Parties may leave the courtroom.
You have a sex overdrive, not just a sex drive.
Only to you.
No,
you
only
could ask
to
any man
anybody.
that just was in that courtroom.
Well, those old bags in there, they probably
Can
can't.
still do more than you can.
I
Go
doubt
ahead and
that.
go find your
I
little-
highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. I mean, I give you the 30 to 45. You know what I mean? I
You
just
give me
can't.
the 15 to 20. Don't trip.